episode of the Match Slip podcast. My name is Frank. I'm your host of the Match Slip. On today's episode, we're talking with Sherri and Zach. They are the owners of Dragon's Hoard out in Greensboro, North Carolina. If you haven't already had the chance to, I suggest checking out our previous episode with Jimmy. He's the owner of Dice City Games out in Maryland. But for today's show, we're talking with Dragon's Hoard, and I'd like to welcome on owners Sherri and Zach to the program. Sherri and Zach, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to have you guys on. So I know we've talked a little bit over email about this, but I wanted to get everybody listening the insight. You guys are about to celebrate your 1-year anniversary with Dragon's Hoard. And congratulations, number one. And number two, I wanted to get your take on what made you both want to start a game store from the get-go.
So that is a good question. It did not originally start as a game store. Originally, it opened as a hobby collectible toy store. And then it evolved into a gaming store. So, and it all evolved in a year. And it evolved pretty quickly. When we realized what the community was more interested in, it kind of led in that direction. And we had some leadership change, and we brought Zach in, and he really helped push us into that direction. So, yeah.
And what is your role, Zach, in the day-to-day operations with the store?
They usually keep me in the back room and help with inventory and social media. So I do all of the Facebook posts and responding to questions online, and then also keep track of what we need to purchase for the store to keep our customers coming back. And then occasionally they let me come in and glad handle a little bit.
And how long ago did you come on? Was it a few months ago? Because I know the store's only been around a year, so I was curious when you started up with the store.
Wasn't it around July, Sherri, that I think we kind of made it official? I had been involved with the store previously as a vendor, so I had random items that I had accumulated in my attic that my wife said I could no longer have any more attic space, and so was forced to find some place to put them. And the toy store that Sherri at the time was running was a good host. So I had been involved with the store since the beginning, but wasn't actually a partner with the store, I think, until around July.
Okay. And Sherri, when you were doing before the game store, prior to that, having the collectible store, what was that origin of that coming to be, and how long into that did you decide you needed to pivot?
So it was a very fluid opportunity, and it kind of fell into our lap, to be honest. So my husband and I, we got into 3D printing, and we looked into places where we could sell our 3D prints. And we came across this toy store in Greensboro that let us set up a booth. And it was probably a month into that person had to leave, and that business had to stop. And Zach was the property manager over that store, and he was like, "Hey, do you guys want to take over the lease?" I was like, sure. So the opportunity kind of fell into our lap, and we went in with 2 other vendors that were also in that space at that time. So there was us, and so there's 3 of us total. And so they also, one was cards, Pokemon cards, and another also had toys as well. And then we had our 3D prints. So it was just kind of this mix mash of what the idea of Hoard came from. It was just like this thing that you just gather, just random things. And so we did that, and it was okay. But my husband was really into magic, and he was very certain. He's like, if you just bring in magic, things are going to change. So he was really driving that home, and nobody really saw that. And so we were able to find, they kind of left for their own reasons. And when Zach was like, "Hey, would you guys be interested if we partnered together?" And we told him our vision of the store of wanting to go into gaming and bringing in more of a magic community, because we were seeing people coming in requesting that. And we ran with it. And that's when things picked up. and that's when we saw the change of the store. So that's how we became more successful, and where we are now is when we made that change in direction. So yeah, so that was around July. Yeah.
And the name Dragon's Hoard, I mean, I know you touched on it a little bit. Its name seems to originate in the amount of items you were selling. Is that in its simplest form what it was, or is there more to the name?
Yeah, it was because the concept was based off of vendors, right? We had different vendors, and we still do have vendors. So we have vendors that sell leather goods in the store. We have vendors that they're home crafted things. They knit things and sell them in the store. We have people that sell jewelry and homemade dice and potion bottles, and of course our 3D prints. And we had some anime folks in there for some time. We have a guy that sells video game consoles and game like retro games. Um, we've got Funko Pops in there. We've got, we touch on so many different things, but also bring in crafty people, and we try to find those people in the community. And what my husband and I did as part of our strategies last year, we went to as many cons as we could afford to go to, and just meet people at these conventions, other vendors, and we brought their stuff in. So we've got people like just like this guy who has these gourds, so like these gourds you can drink out of. So we sell his gourds, and just these random kind of things that people are like, that's really cool. I can't find that anywhere else. Right. So that's the concept, is that you bring in these things that you can't just go anywhere to find unless you kind of hunt that down. So it's just a gathering place of local people, and of what they're selling, and we give them that space to do that. And so we still do that now. We, especially for our 1 year anniversary that's coming up, we're asking our vendors, like, hey, can you come in and take up bring your stuff to our event, and show them, show what you've got to our community as well, of the toy swap people coming in.
So would you say a fair assessment would be like you're almost a variety store too, with how many things you have available?
Yes, I think that would be an accurate assessment.
Right. But Dragon's Boutique didn't sound quite as strong as Dragon's Hoard,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah.
No, that's understandable. And Zach, from your side of things, what was your relationship in terms of wanting to get involved on a partnership level with the game store? I'm sure you probably have some type of interest that brought you into that outside of, just being the property manager at the time.
Sure, sure. Jealousy. Jealousy, I think, is the short answer there. So yeah, you touched on that a minute ago. Yeah, I technically have two hats. So I still have and Sherri does too, for what it's worth. But I am a commercial real estate broker by day, and so I manage properties in the Triad and Triangle areas. And so, um, I get to see all of these other uh, people open up these exciting stores and do these exciting things. And I'm always mostly on the outside looking in and helping make sure that they've got the things they need to be successful. And I found myself in that same situation here, but more motivated to finally join the party, so to speak. My brother and I, many, many years ago, gosh, back in the early 2000s, had spent several years planning on opening up a board game cafe before it was really popular to do that, before it was the it thing. But we never had a chance to do it. He was a lawyer. I was, I think, at that time still working for Apple Computer. And so we just never had the opportunity. And this time, I kind of uh, knocked on the door of basically what Sherri and Stephen were doing, and kind of stuck my nose in and said, "Hey, can I play too?" And we really have really hit the ground running in July. It's been a lot of fun, um, being a part of this. And even though I don't get to be in the store as much as Sherri and Stephen, and Stephen's not on this podcast, and it's weird how shy he would be to be on something like this, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying that, but he is so good in person with people. Like he really is the one that has established this gaming community in our store, because he's the one that really knows to its soul, like how to play these games, and so he takes time and teaches players and guides players and talks cards and talks strategies and things that I don't think Sherri would be offended me saying that neither she nor I would have that same
Hmm.
strength. And so it's been really neat watching him kind of do that and be a part of that. But and when I get into the store to play around some too. Um, yeah. So
Yeah, people come to see Steven.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's great to hear, though, that you have somebody that you can rely on like that to help foster the community of gamers that you have coming into play. And I really like hearing too, Zach, from your side of things, that you were able to kind of now marry, your hobby of games and able to have something to be more integrally a part of. And with that being said, Sherri, I know you mentioned your husband was encouraging you to bring in Magic into the store. So I'm guessing he was into games as well. Now, from your standpoint, are you into games also, or was this just kind of like with the direction and the way things went and just getting his feedback given to you, that was kind of just what led you into it? Or did you have any also like a connection to games in some capacity?
It's driven by him. I've learned to trust his instincts. He has really good instincts when it comes to business, and what people like is always paid off. And so, so far at least, it's always paid off. And so he's been more into it. And he was into Magic a long time ago, and he got out of it. And he's like, if you ever get me back into it, we're going to go broke. Um, and so, but we did get back into it, and he's pretty close to making us go broke from all the
It's an expensive hobby.
that it makes it a little bit more affordable when you can get those discounts. But yeah, so it's more a reflection of him and what his contributions that he brings. I just try to help facilitate that and make that happen for him.
That's very cool.
And it may be worth mentioning now, or I guess we could probably touch on it later too. We are, while Magic certainly is what pushed us in the direction of the gaming store, um, uh, and that still remains one of our most popular games in the store. I don't know that it's a runaway most popular one. We have a very very strong Lorcana community in the store now too, and Warhammer has
Oh
been
yes.
really, really popular among our customers too. We are fortunate in that the space that we're in is large. We're in about 3,500 square feet right now of retail space, and maybe trying to expand a little bit. But having that 3,500 square feet gives us a lot of space to put up nice tables and nice chairs, and really have room to spread out so no one feels crowded. And so we can have, at the same time that there's a Magic draft going on, there could be a Lorcana tournament going on, and at the same time, four guys in the back playing, I should say guys, four guys and girls in the back playing Warhammer. And those probably are three big right now in the store.
Yeah, and we do have groups that come in pretty routinely for Dungeons and Dragons coming in, and
Hmm.
so we try to make space for all of that, and it's not unusual to come in on a Saturday and we've got a Lorcana tournament happening with two or three Warhammer games going on at the same time as a Magic game going on, all at the same time. So that's a pretty and a D&D game was going on at the same time one time too. So the store can get pretty full and pretty busy with a lot of people in the gaming community, and they have fun. So my contributions is I try to make it a welcoming environment that people want to be in, and that it's comfortable and cozy. And so that's what I give that flavor to the store, and I think it's been paying off.
Hmm.
And how many employees do you have to facilitate, having multiple events running at the same time on a given day?
Great question. So we are fortunate in that we have Justin, who we've not mentioned it yet at this point, who is also a integral part of our team. And so Justin is there pretty much every time any one of us is there. Justin's there helping out. So we've got Justin and Stephen are there almost all of the time, and Sherry's there quite a bit too, and then I can come in when we can. So we've not grown to the point yet where we can start hiring additional employees beyond this kind of core group. We would love to be there by our second anniversary and have a couple other staff members that can help out with these things. We have relied on volunteer judges sometimes, things like that, to kind of help facilitate these games and events. But right now, it's just been the four of us. Sometimes running around with our heads cut off, but we've managed to survive so far.
Yeah, and we have people in the community that do volunteer just for random things, so that helps. We build a really good community, and I think that a strong community that helps. So
that's good to hear. And in order to, put together a game store, there's obviously a lot of ups and downs that occur. And what's interesting for me with this particular podcast is you're the first store that I've gotten a chance to talk to that is in the very early stages with being, about to celebrate a year. The thing I wanted to ask is, when is the official year anniversary? When are you celebrating it? And also, what are some ups and downs that you've felt in this first year of running the game store, and whatever else you feel is necessary to explain to people listening about the trials and tribulations that can occur?
The official opening was February 11th. so we're really coming up on the 1 year this weekend. And it's just a lot of different change of settling into partnerships and making sure everybody was on the same agenda and had the same vision, because not everybody was on the same page at the beginning and had the same expectations of what their roles were and the direction of the store and what their contributions needed to be for us to be successful. And so when we were talking, Stephen and I were talking with Zach about potentially bringing him on, we just sat down and be like, these are what we need. This is the direction that we're wanting to go with. Is this something that, you think that you're good with, so we set clear expectations, and Zach has blown all of those out of the water. He has really stepped up far above what we needed. So, I think being on the same page has really helped.
Yeah, and I think probably one of the biggest hurdles we've had to overcome was what the old saying: if you got to spend money to make money. There's not a more true saying in a retail store, where we found early on that you can't make money until you have the inventory to sell things to make money, and it has been for me, that's been one of the most difficult things to kind of try to understand, is how much of what product can we order and sell through so we can buy more product, because obviously you don't want to under purchase it and then you don't have enough and your customers are going off to other stores. But at the same time, if you over purchase it in this world, 3 months later, a new set's out, a new game's out, and you can be stuck with inventory that may not sell at all. And if it does, it may just sell slowly, which makes it difficult to buy more inventory. And so it's been an interesting struggle trying to thread that needle, especially when there are so many games that are popular right now. It's not, like I said before, it's not just Magic the Gathering. It's Pokemon cards, it's One Piece cards, it's Dungeons and Dragons books, it's different games. We do board games too in the store. My wife and I play Wingspan 3 times a day at lunch. We want to have those kind of board games, but it's which ones do you get, and you got to be careful with which ones are always going to be cheaper on Amazon, so it's hard to carry in the store. I think inventory control, and as we pivoted to the game store, we had to pivot from fold-out tables to really nice, sturdy tables that people felt comfortable and enjoyed playing on, and things like that. So it's been a surprise how expensive it is to start a gaming store.
What type of approach do you take when dealing with the inventory problems? Is it buying less product of a particular line, or is it you just kind of feed off of what you notice customers are buying? Because I'm sure, like as people always say, when you have inventory that's just sitting there, that's just money that's being stored essentially and taking up space for new product. So I was curious how you approach that.
I guess I'll start with that, and maybe Sherri can add to it. Yes, that's great. Great question again. It's been as as our store has grown, uh, our both our regular community has grown and our walk-in traffic has grown. So we've been fortunate that, well, fortunate is maybe not the right word, but we almost certainly under purchased everything initially, just because we weren't fully aware of how many cards we could sell in a given week. And so we have been, with each release, we have been adding more and more to those purchases. It's easy with a game like Magic because we can reorder Magic pretty easily. With very little exception, when we sell out of the Murders of Karlov Manor cards, I can turn around and order more from a distributor and have them in 2 days. Sometimes that delay is rough, but most of our customers understand and will wait 2 days to get something. For other games, that's been a very different story. I mean, I'm sure you're aware at this point talking to other game stores. Lorcana, for example, if you don't get it on day one, you may not get it again until the next set comes out. Same thing with One Piece. So we still haven't gotten a single booster pack of One Piece in our store because we just can't get it from the distributors. Um, and so sometimes for those other games, if you don't order it right away, you may not get it. And so for the Star Wars game that's coming out, there's a new game in March. We're having a big pre-release for Star Wars Unlimited on March 1st. And we're kind of taking a gamble by ordering a pretty sizable amount of inventory because we're worried that's going to be another one of those games like Lorcana that kind of hits the market super hot. And once that initial batch runs out, it may be 2-3 months before more is available. And we don't want to sit there with that inventory like we did with Lorcana when it first came out. We've been really fortunate with our Lorcana group and their patience with us of trying to get them product. And I'm hoping that we don't have to fight so much for it on this next Inkland cycle and things like that. But it's hard to buy it, and same. But there are games that we've purchased that have not sold as well, and so we got to be careful with that when we're making those decisions. I know I didn't really answer that question, but I hope that maybe gives a clearer picture of where our thoughts are on it.
Oh, no, definitely. Yeah, because I was kind of curious as you touched on Lorcana, because I know that was almost across the board with game stores having difficulty getting product to it. Do you think it's as simple as that it was just because it was a product made by Disney, or do you think there was just the hype around the game? Because I don't recall in like my time of playing games where a game was this, hyped to the degree almost what you see with Magic. Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon are popular, but Magic was always the king of it all. And then you've got Lorcana that comes around and it's got this really big hype train behind it. And I'm curious if what you attribute that to, because it was like across the board, all game stores were having trouble getting product. And to hear it from your end as well kind of just reiterates that notion.
There definitely was an issue with Ravensburger not printing enough initially. They just did not meet demand. And then it didn't help, and this may sound bitter, it didn't help. There were so many people interested in scalping the product as opposed to buying it and playing the product. So a lot of that initial run ended up being purchased by resellers, and not resellers in store resellers, but resellers as in private people that would just buy as much inventory as they could and try to triple their money back. And everybody should, people like to make money. I can't fault them for that. But we tried very early on to only sell our product at MSRP and tried to make sure we were only selling it to players and collectors and not resellers. But that's sometimes hard to do. But I think with Lorcana being a Disney product, and it's a good game. I mean, it's not just a Disney product, but it's a really fun, playable game. And those two things together, your Disney collectors, unlike, I guess there are people in Magic the Gathering, I have found from my experience, maybe this is anecdotal, but Magic players want the cards that are best for the game to play the game. There are Lorcana players that feel the same way, and so those cards can be valuable and expensive, and people are coveting those cards. But Disney collectors in general just want the set as well. And so that has sustained sales of that product because not only do you have people wanting to buy the best cards to get the meta deck to win the tournament, but you've got a lot of other people that just want to look at the pretty cards. They're cool cards. There's only 204 in a set, so it's not too hard to complete them. Twice that if you're counting foils and then the enchanted, of course. But I think having I think the collectability, because it's a Disney product, in my small worldview anyway, is that is a more collectible product than Magic. as far as people trying to complete their sets and things. And maybe that's just because it's early, and maybe that fades with time too. But so far, our experience with that is that people want every single card in Lorcana, and I don't feel that that's necessarily true with Magic the Gathering. So that's helped give Lorcana a lot of legs. And again, like I said before, it's a fun game. It's the only one that I know of so far that seems to kind of match Magic in its popularity and enjoyability. And of course, the Flesh and Blood players and One Piece players will get mad at me for saying that, but um,
No, that's great. That's great insight for sure. It's definitely something I wouldn't have expected to hear, but it's interesting to hear the different takes on what transpired it to be as popular as it is. I didn't really realize either the initial low print run in the beginning, so that's interesting to know. With that being said, you had mentioned a little bit earlier about you've been having this the source of traffic that you have of people coming into the store. What types of efforts have you made to bring new people in, and how did you get the name out? I know, Sherri, you touched on conventions, going to those early on. Is also just Greensboro very good in terms of the ability to draw in a lot of gamers? Is the area known for attracting a lot of people into these hobbies?
I don't know if it's known for that. There's quite a few game stores in Greensboro, and they're not far from us. I mean, within, like, I would say, a 5 mile radius, there's two other very popular, already established game stores that people could choose to go to. And some of their customers have come to us and made us their home stores for one reason or another. But we have tried to, what my idea is, just be everywhere. And so when we're invited to go somewhere, especially if it's local, we go, even if we're not going to make money. And most of the time, sometimes we don't. It's just the presence of being there. The principle is just go, be everywhere, be seen. Um, and so that's kind of the idea. And then, yes, we try to do conventions throughout the state, and not just, locally as well. But, we've been invited to a local college. It is asking for help with an anime convention coming up, and asked, like, hey, can you guys come and have a booth there? I'm like, sure, let's do it. Like let's help out as much as we can. And so getting that, and now we're going to get that student traffic right from that university, hopefully, coming in. And so doing that, but a lot of coordination with other groups, like the North Carolina Underground Toy Swap. That's who we're partnering with for this weekend for the 1 year anniversary. Zach can tell you more about that group, but they have this is a group with a lot of large membership, uh, and we're expecting about we're almost up to 40 vendors right now, of people coming this weekend. And we're already seeing people that are showing interest in, like, hey, I didn't know you guys existed, and my kid does these things, and that would be great to have a place for them to come and do this, to do D&D. I didn't know that this place existed, so already seeing that, like getting us in their minds of us being there. So, but Zach, if you want to talk more about the
yeah, sure. And also, as far as getting our name out there, and my wife will attest to this, but since I went up in July and kind of taken over the social media aspect of this, I'm on Facebook probably more than an 11-year-old girl at this point. Although uh, it's it's just getting the name out there over and over again. So we make sure that everything we do in the store we promote on Facebook, and we try to also do it on Instagram and our website. But as lame as it sounds, and I know it's been around, and everybody was talking about the death of Facebook, but for other social media platforms, but Facebook has been good for us from a promote the heck out of our store and reach customers. It's a very easy way to, and it's just about making sure we stay on top of promoting our events on there. So we have a schedule that we post at the beginning of each week. We have flyers that I create for every single event. We create events in Facebook for every single event, and we promote it. We post about it. We find the other Facebook groups like the one that Sherri was mentioning, NC Underground Toy Swap, and we post the applicable events to those groups. So there's a Lorcana NC group that we post all our tournaments on. There's a Magic the Gatherings NC group that we post all our tournaments on. There's a Toy Swap group. There's a Warhammer group. I mean, all these things. We just make sure that we're posting it on our website, we're posting it on Facebook, and we're posting it in these groups so that people know we're there. That's been the hardest part. We're in a Food Line anchored shopping center, so you'd think we'd have lots of traffic, but it's amazing how many people come in and say, I had no idea you were here. And so it's just about people knowing you're there, and it's just about promoting. You got to, if you want to open a store like this, or any store, I imagine it's about promoting the heck of yourself out so that people know that you exist. Because it surprises me even to this day that people will, come in and say, I come to this Food Line every week, and I've never looked to the left and saw your store. And so, but the NC Underground Toy Swap is a group I've actually been involved with for many years. I think it's about 2,000 members in the group. It's just like-minded collectors in North Carolina that, probably 6 to 12 times a year have been putting together, Ash and Trey have been putting together these toy gatherings, toy swaps, where they try to find a parking lot somewhere and set up tables, and it's free, and everybody comes there and they trade Transformers and Star Wars figures and whatever else it is. And so they have, we kind of volunteered our store for a swap in Greensboro. And so but again, the same kind of thing. There's lots of people in that group that had no idea that, that lived in Greensboro, that had no idea that we were a store in town, that they could come buy their Funko Pops from, or come play Magic the Gathering at, or whatever it is. And so this event is a chance that, once again, the point of this event and this kind of anniversary swap is to let people know that we exist, and we want to be their store of choice, because we know they have other choices, and the other stores around us are great stores too. We spend time. We know the other owners at those other game stores in town, and we spend time there. And I would hope to think that we're friends with the other owners. That there's room for all of us in this town, and it's but it's about making sure people know that we're a choice.
We're going to take a quick break from this podcast to talk about our sponsor, Cardboard Shuffle. Cardboard Shuffle was our 10th podcast interview here at the Match Slip with store owner Mark. Mark has expanded his brand and has produced his own card sleeves called Shuffle Shields. Shuffle Shields come in packs of 100 premium matte card sleeves for standard size trading cards. They contain no PVC and are acid-free. I have 17 packs of Shuffle Shields card sleeves to give away to listeners of the podcast and followers of the Match Slip on social media. Requests for a free pack of card sleeves shipped for free to you will be processed on a first-come, first-served basis. To receive your free pack of Shuffle Shields, you'll need to send a screenshot that you're following Cardboard Shuffle on Facebook to frank@thematchslip.com. Good luck, and back to the episode. Are you able to do any collaboration with the other game stores that are in the area?
We have actually discussed internally. What I'd love to see, this is actually what Steven's brainchild is, creating some sort of inter-store championship kind of thing with different games, right? It would be really neat to have 8-person pods at each store playing commander tournaments, and then the winner of each of those then takes on a regional championship with the other stores in town, things like that. So we're looking at how we can involve the other stores, because at the end of the day, most of our customers also go to those stores, because if you're a Magic player or a Lorcana player, you're looking for a specific card. If we don't have it, well, then they should go to the other store and look for it too, and see if they can get it there. And that often happens. And so, we're sure there's friendly rivalries, I suppose, but I think having some sort of league that we could kind of compete with each other on a friendly level would be really fun to do, and that would, again, I think, help promote all of our stores at the same time. And again, there's room for all of us here.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I'm curious, Zach, when you're using Facebook for marketing purposes and you're posting in those groups, have you noticed a return of people coming back to the store's page? Like, so essentially you're sharing the event in these groups. Do you notice that that's bringing in more people to your personal page now?
I think so. I mean, again, it's anecdotal. I don't have there's no hard evidence to suggest that we're not just organically growing, but we get a good number of followers added to our page, and a good number is not. I mean, we're not. I think we just passed 500 followers on Facebook, which we're pretty excited about. But I'll post at one of those events, and we'll get 2 or 3 or 4 new followers usually within the next day or so. And so I'm thinking that sometimes that's what's happening. That's kind of what I'm hoping is that, and definitely with the underground this toy swap thing, we've picked up probably 60 or 70 followers in the last week or so. I think mostly from people that were coming to this toy swap event, and that's from posting in this underground toy swap group and things like that. And we're also posting on the Greensboro buy sell trade pages and other sites that we feel like might help draw more eyeballs our way. And that's at the end of the day, I think that's kind of what we're hoping for here, is that when they follow our page, then the next time we make a post, there's a chance that comes up on their feed and reminds them we're here, because it's all about reminding people that our store is a fun place to hang out. And it's definitely the family, we call them our family, or the regulars at our store that they come in a lot. It's great. They'll come in daily, multiple times a week, whatever it is, and they'll hang out even if they're not. And we don't, obviously we want everybody spending everything they've ever made in our store so we can pay our bills, but we don't expect that of them. They come in and they hang out. Sherri has done it. She kind of touched on it earlier, but she has set up our store so it feels like home away from home. We've got comfy chairs next to a fireplace. We've got a free coffee bar and drink bar. We've got paints that you can come out and play paints. We've got free board games. So even if you're not looking to spend your weekly paycheck at the store, you can come in and hang out for free and just hang out. And that's a lot of people do come in and just find it a fun, safe, comfortable place to spend an afternoon or evening at which we really enjoy.
And what types of things do you have planned that you're excited about for the 1 year anniversary? What's been like either top of mind? What have you been planning on this week? Like, what is some of like the preparation that's been going into planning on the celebration of the store being 1 year old?
Oh boy. So basically just getting ready for the swap that's on Saturday. We're hoping and anticipating and trying to drum up as much foot traffic as possible to come in and make it worth our vendors' time and energy to come in and spend that day with us. And it's going to be inside. It's going to be in the space right next to our shop. It's like 5,000 square feet in the space next to us. So we're prepping that space, and then I'm doing Sherri things, which means I'm making vendor swag bags with Dragon's Hoard logos and all kinds of goodies for our vendors to say thank you for coming out. And then we have got prizes. We've got 4 different raffles that we're doing for this weekend. We've got raffles for specifically just for the vendors for, hey, thanks for coming out. Here's this really cool, Zach knows what it is. I don't know.
It's a star screen. We're giving them out a Generation 1 original G1 star screen.
I was like,
complete.
I was like, Zach, give them something that they would love. Raffle on something that's marketed towards them. I don't know what that would be. So that's what he chose. And then we're doing raffles for that NC Underground Toy Swap members, just for them. We're doing a raffle for if you buy something from the vendors, and the vendors will pick a certain item and put a ticket on it. If you buy that item, keep that ticket. That'll be part of a raffle. And then the 4th one is the general public raffle. So we've got prizes for all 4 raffles. So we've got all of that coming this weekend. All at the same time as the Lorcana tournament happening. I'm pretty sure there'll be some Warhammer. They always come on Saturday anyway. And then we have our Mox Diamond tournament on Sunday.
Yeah, we're doing a large Magic the Gathering tournament. We're hoping our biggest one we've ever done with a pretty sizable prize pool. So Mox Diamond is a pretty valuable card that we're doing for a grand prize for that one, which we're pretty excited about offering.
That's very cool. And have you gotten an estimate so far in terms of players playing in that tournament or the general public attending? Any insight so far as to how many people you're expecting?
That's a good question. My only complaint about Magic the Gathering players is they don't sign up in advance for tournaments. At least they don't see, unless it's required. They don't. So I have no idea. we're hoping to get 32 players for the Magic the Gathering tournaments. Our Lorcana tournaments are typically in that 16 to 24 range. We're doing a draft tournament this time around, which might attract some more people actually. So we might get in the 30s on that one too, which I think we're pretty happy with. I feel like the sizes we get at tournaments are continuing to grow, and so I think the fact that we're getting in those 20s and 30s now is pretty exciting to me. But this will be the first time we've been promoting a tournament like this of this size for Magic on a larger kind of scale. So we're hoping for pretty good numbers, but it's hard to say. Same thing with the toy swap. We've got I think on Facebook 50 or 60 people said they're interested in going, but who knows what that actually turns into. And we're going to have banners on the street, so we're hoping to get several hundred people kind of walking through. Hopefully we'll be pleasantly surprised, and maybe there'll be more. So we'll see.
So once the full year officially is concluded, the event is done, what are some things you're looking forward to or have in mind for year 2 of the store?
I'll let you answer that, Zach.
Well, I mean, for me, it's that we've got a better understanding of, what we can do to keep players and customers, and whatever we can do to keep everybody engaged and coming back to the store. I think we're finally, really in the last month or two, we're really starting to hit our stride and becoming a place that people have recognized and so we have to take advantage of that while we can. So keep promoting ourselves and keep but doing it in a way that doesn't make the current customers feel like we're ignoring them or not appreciating them. So we want to grow our family, and again, hopefully the Star Wars game takes off for us. The Lorcana has done really well for us. We're really growing our Magic the Gathering and Warhammer groups at the store, and we're fortunate that we have room for them to be at the store and do the things that they all want to do, which is play games.
Yeah, because one of the things I'm thinking about is, when it's like the early days of a store, when you're in that first year or so, there's a lot of hours put in, as I'm sure you both are obviously aware of. And, I've talked to other store owners who, maybe they've been around for a while, they're deeper into the process, and they talk to me about, how many hours they were putting in the beginning. And sometimes, it's 70, 80 hours a week. It's, astronomical numbers because, they're on their own. They don't have anybody to help yet to pay other employees to help take some of the load off. So I'm curious for you both, how much have you both had to been putting in yourself this early on? I think it's great, you have the employees that you have, for the gaming side of things and stuff like that. I'm curious from your end, how much of a time commitment all of this has been.
Well, from the beginning, it was pretty much just Steven that was manning the store from February until Justin started helping out a couple of months ago. And he was doing that 6 days a week for, every day. And I help out as much as I can, but I have my own day job that keeps the lights on in the home, and paid the bills at the store at the same time, to keep it running. So, doing the double shift there for my work. But now that having Justin help get him home at least 2 days or so a week, because we also have a 5-year-old. So that was extra work, having 2 jobs and taking care of a kid, but it's just a lot of work. So, but Zach, I'm sure you're putting in a lot of work too with.
Yeah, it's amazing how much time it takes to. And I'm sure I can't imagine trying to do this on my own, without partners. Is not only running the store, but is the running the store in the store, which is what everybody sees. That's kind of what Steven and Justin do. But then running the store with paying bills and buying inventory and making contacts with vendors and making contacts with wholesalers and making schedules and flyers and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know how anybody could try doing that on their own and not go absolutely crazy, because it's a lot of work to run one of these stores. And certainly the first couple of years, there's not a lot of payoff. a lot of work without a lot of payoff. Well, I shouldn't say that, without a lot of monetary payoff. There is lots of payoff in the enjoyment of the community. That's what kind of keeps me going anyway, is that it's really fun, talking games with people and playing games with people. And, at the end of the day, it would be great. So maybe that's my year two vision. Is the year two vision we can not only enjoy the games with people, but start making this more fruitful of a business and grow, right? Because ideally, we would like to get to a point where we have extra employees we're paying to help cover some hours, and who knows, where we can grow to, as long as we keep that momentum going forward.
I'm guessing a lot of the money that's generated for the store in this first year gets reinvested back into the business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 100%. I can't imagine anybody could be taking home money on the first year of opening a retail store like this. That was one of the most, again, like I said early on, inventory. It's a lot of money to buy stock for a store that you in fact, some of it you can't expect and don't expect to sell right away, right? Things like Gundam. We have Gundam in our store. Well, if you buy $3,000 or $4,000 worth of Gundam because you have to have a shelf full of Gundam to display it, you can't sell it all the next day. That's going to take a year to sell through. And so things like that where you have to, and so there's no money going in. And if you're a store owner making money in your first year, I want to know your secret.
Is for Sherri, for you, or even for you, Zach, would an ideal situation be to be able to dedicate? Because I know I know Zach, you have what you do during the day, and I know Sherri, you mentioned you have your full time job, to pay the bills and stuff like that. Would there come a point in time where you both would hope to have the opportunity to pretty much dedicate to the store full time, or do you like the current setup that you're currently doing right now?
For me, I would like to transition, but I think of that as like a 5 to 10 year plan. That's not going to be anything that's immediate for me. But I'm in corporate world, and I'd love to get out of corporate world. Boss won't fire me, but I just I've been in corporate world for so long. I just read. I'm this is my retirement plan, is to get out of corporate world. Yeah, so my exit strategy, I should say.
Yeah, and realistically, for something like that to work, we hopefully at that point in that 10-year plan, there's a second store because, again, it would be hard, I imagine, to run two families off of one store, and so maybe that 10-year plan is going to have to be having a second location.
Well, I mean, in 10 years, we better have a second location.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
It's funny you both mentioned that, because I was actually going to ask, it's one of my favorite questions to always ask store owners, almost like to, even though it's hard to separate the notion of everything costing money, but almost like a dream of yours, like what would you like to see happen down the line if you could make it happen? It seems like a second location from what you said is one of them, but is that, like, from your own personal perspectives, what would you like to see the store become, if you put that like 5 to 10 year window down the line?
So I have this saying that my boss uses. It's called champagne thinking, and so I won't go into it. It's self-explanatory, champagne thinking. So there is a store in North Carolina called Ed McKay's. It's really huge, and so I want to be the Ed McKay's of gaming. It's and just be this really big, large area of just nothing but gaming. But I figured with the contacts that Zach has, that we have a great probability of finding some good space in North Carolina that we would get the opportunity to do that. But I definitely want to have more than one location, and we may have the opportunity even to the next space next to us to hopefully the plan is to expand into that with some partners. So we'll see if that comes to fruition in the next month or two. So hopefully, that's the next step to move forward in that direction. But definitely, hopefully, at least in 5 years, having another location.
Yeah, I would like to see this as a retirement plan too. I like what Sherri's saying there. It would be so. I live a little further away from this store, so I live in Raleigh actually. So it's a good hour and 10 minutes for me to get out there. So maybe that second location is closer to me. But my kind of dream scenario would be owning the property that we're using and I've always, like I said, my brother and I wanted to open up a board game cafe 25 years ago at this point, but it would be neat having a game store like this with maybe a residential unit above it. Wake up and have your coffee and stuff, and come down and play games with people all day long, and walk upstairs and go back to bed. Kind of scenario would be kind of a neat retirement dream.
This episode of The Match Slip is sponsored by Crash CityCon, Roanoke, Virginia's premier gaming and fan convention. It's tabletop gaming at its best. In addition to role-playing games, board games, there are vendors, and so much more. Play with some of the top game masters in the area, enjoy a casual game in their open gaming area, or learn to play games you always wanted to play. Attend Crash CityCon August 23rd through the 25th of 2024 at the Berglund Center Special Events Center. You could check out more information at crashcitycon.com. I hope what you both have planned and what you're wanting to see happen comes to fruition for you. From the store standpoint, this is probably my personal favorite question to always ask. I love getting a visual picture of what the store looks like since I haven't been to it. So if you could paint the best picture you can of your location and your store, feel free to, whoever wants to take this one.
Okay. So just walking in, there is a nice wooden large table that is our main magic table that people play at. It's kind of like the home magic table. And then to the right of that is our card section. And we just put in brand new, lovely glass cabinets for our cards. And then along that right wall is just a bunch of our merchandise. But down the center and the left side is just a bunch of tables, just rows and rows of tables. And they're just nice little wood, very pretty tables. And then you've got to the left, there's a free coffee bar and free water. And there's some soda and drinks machines. And then in the back, there is a seating, bunch of couches and a large TV to sit and watch movies or play games with your friends. And then to the right in the very back is a reading nook with bookshelves and a fireplace and some black wingback leather chairs. So it's very homey.
But I really like too that you are able to give things away for free to people. How does that factored into, I guess, the expenses it would have to be?
I'm sure Zach would like me to not do those things, but it's just one of those things that I feel like it pays off in our customers' loyalty. And that's probably a naive thing of me to say, but our customers do keep coming back. So, and I'll just say it with this way. When we were first starting out, before anyone else, and before we had any customers that would come in, when we started having them, my husband and I always provided free drinks and stuff and drink snacks just to try to get people in the door, and it worked. And then they started coming back, and then they started bringing the drinks. They started bringing the sodas to share with everybody else because they didn't want us to have to keep paying for it all the time. So they were paying it forward. So then the community started bringing stuff in, and they still do that. And it's something small, but people remember that because when people maybe after maybe 3 months later, this guy came in and goes, "Oh, y'all don't do that free water anymore." And I was like, turn around. It's right there. It just looks different, but it's right over there. He goes, "Oh, thank you." Because I was telling somebody about that. And then he brought a friend with him. And I'm like, that's it right there. Okay. That's why you do it. Because people will remember that, and people will bring their friends for that. That's the feeling that you give people. And that feeling is what brings them back. So it's just the investment that you have to give to get that feeling then.
It's a neat marketing strategy too. It's not one you would, normally hear, but I think it's clearly working. And I especially like the whole pay it forward aspect too, that the customers are knowing that you're laying out the money and then, trying to do the right thing from what you did for them and to help out in a way, kind of like what you were alluding to in the beginning of the podcast, was that, the player base, the community that's been built around what you guys are doing, I think is fantastic. And so as we wrap up here, I would like to thank you both for coming on, making the time for this with your busy schedules. It's been a blast to do. Is there any place you'd like to have listeners check out where they can learn about more about the store, or anything you want to add in closing here?
Well, certainly the easiest way and probably the most updates that we do is our Facebook page. So facebook.com/DragonsHoardNC, NC for North Carolina. That's also our website, dragonshoardnc.com. So we certainly try to keep everything up to date on there. I, again, respond probably quicker and more often than I should to posts and questions and things on Facebook. So if you're ever looking for anything, that is the quickest and easiest way to get a hold of me. Stopping in the store is a great idea too.
Excellent. I'll be sure to put a link to that in the show notes as well, so people could check it out if they're interested. I wish you both the very best with the upcoming 1-year anniversary this weekend, and I hope it all is a success for you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us on this show. This has been a blast.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure thing. It's been my pleasure. And for everybody else listening, if you'd like to check out our newsletter at thematchlip.com/newsletter, where you can get my personal reviews of the game stores I visit in person, you can feel free to sign up there. Other than that, we will catch you all in the next episode. Take care.